Hello everyone, I'm Wave, and it's around that time of year where I go ahead and talk about all the visual novels that I've played since the last time I did this and update my tier list for them. So, I guess let's just get right into it. Same thing as always, I'll try and talk about the visual novels that I've read in a sort of like review sense. And I guess first off, I'll start with the visual novel that I read after recording the last tier list that I did last year, being Akai Ito HD. This is a title that I had found out about, went to VNDB, saw that it was translated on Steam. I went to Steam and there was literally like a couple hours left of it being on sale, and I already happened to have the money for it in my Steam wallet, so I just impulse bought it. Was feeling pretty good about it, and then the following day I ended up looking into info and saw that people apparently kind of hate this game in a way because of how bad the translation apparently was, and that was something where I had gotten into it and was trying to decide for myself if it was actually bad or not, because I feel like when I started doing YouTube here, I kind of was just parroting what a lot of other people say, and as I've been doing more and more on YouTube, I try to kind of give you guys my own opinion on stuff, and I would hope that you guys can form your own opinions on stuff. Don't just take me at my own word either. Akai Ito HD is a solid enough game. I like how it plays out. It is I guess very much embodies being an adventure game. There's a flow chart, and you're able to see within the game, there's multitudes upon multitudes of different choices that you could do that lead to very vastly different branches, which I guess you could say is just like a normal visual novel in general. But no, I really do mean that I think Akai Ito is like an adventure style game. It's fun. The translation, I will say, is kind of rough. It's not particularly bad, it's just that there's a lot of typos. So if you're getting into it, I would say get it on sale and just be aware before buying it. So Akai Ito HD. There is actually a fan translation if you want to just play the PS2 original version instead, but I played it on Steam. I want to say it was solid. I think I could probably put it maybe under FGO. Next up, I want to say we can maybe do this. I'll do Kimono Friends Opening Day, which is a fan game that is technically not complete. I'm thinking we're probably going to get the next chapter in the next month or two, going off of generally how long it's been between updates. Maybe it might be a little longer. It seems like they're kind of cooking up a bigger chapter this time. Maybe I'll be wrong, but each chapter is probably around an hour long. There's 3 chapters in the game right now. I'm waiting on chapter 4, and it's free, so it's pretty fun. Very brief, but I had a fun time with it. I want to say I could probably put it maybe I'll put it above, right around there. And then next I will go ahead and, I'll give you guys a drop title, being Railway. I don't remember the full name of it. It's Railway Kokoni or something like that. And this is an untranslated title. I feel like a lot of the untranslated titles I've played have been really, really solid. And I think this is the first time I picked up a non-translated visual novel that was mid, if not bad. I think if you go to VNDB, I want to say there's only 2 or 3 people that have left rankings for it, and I think a majority of those rankings are 4 out of 10s. I will say the reason why it's dropped is not because I purposely wanted to stop playing the game. The copy that I have, because it's a disc-based game, the copy I have crashes consistently in Common Route. So I tried looking around to see if maybe I could find a save a save file or something in order to get around it. Was not able to do that. So at some point I would like to be able to pick up Railway again, but just I physically can't. But Railway's very, very simple. The music's good, but the story is bare bones. and I do genuinely mean like, um, I'm not lying. The way it works is that it's like a calendar style where you live out every single day. You're going to school, and for some reason, some of the like they have the need to play out the entire day. So even though there like might genuinely only be like 4 or 5 minutes of substance in one given day, uh, sometimes they will word for word copy paste the exact same things that happened on a previous day. So it the surface level feels very just like very low bar. Like I don't know, it's bad. Where I would say, you know what, one might even call it slop, but I was starting to have fun with it. I think once I got a couple hours into Railway, I was turning my brain off to just like an obscene level, right? So I think Railway is a very, very like, I don't know what I could describe it as other than slop, but at the end of the day, it's my slop, okay? So I want to try and play Railway at some point again, but yeah, for now it's dropped. I'll go ahead and put it maybe like right around there. And then let's go ahead and talk about another non-translated title that I read. The very last title that I read last year being Doko I Iku no Anohi. This one is very good. It's from the same developer as one of my top tiers, Moonstone. So I want to read Princess Evangile. I think I actually probably will start reading Princess Evangile soon-ish, which is translated. But Doko Iku is very good. I almost would describe it as an Utsuge, which is like just very like dark and like tries to make you kind of sad or cry. I like it. It's a very like heavy setting, but at the same time there's a lot of like uplifting moments throughout it. I think this, out of a lot of the visual novels that I played, really lands the friend dynamic, to where in a lot of visual novels that have romance, you kind of like get to a character route and then all of the other girls just disappear. I think Doko Iku is one of the visual novels that really lands the friends dynamic. It's also kind of a murder mystery in a way, so it's a unique blend, I think, of a couple different like genres, but I think it was pretty solid, all things considered. Let me maybe put it like somewhere around there, and then I guess we could talk about the next visual novel that I read after Doko Iku, being Fate Stay Night. So I finally got around to reading Fate Stay Night. I played the remastered version on Steam, which had been sitting in my library for a good while. I think I bought it the day after it had come out, because I remember at launch the game was like really bugged if you didn't have JP locale set to your PC. So how that got through testing, I have no idea. But they fixed it within a day. And yeah, I just had Fate Stay Night sitting on my computer for a good while. I had originally read Fate Route a while back, like years back, and then just stopped for whatever reason. But I reread Fate Route and then did Heaven's Feel and Unlimited Blade Works. Not in that order, but Fate Stay Night is solid. When I was reading it, I was really trying to kind of like hone in and see what things were maybe stuck out to me as being bad, just because I feel like a lot of people really praise this visual novel. I liked it. I almost think too it's kind of weird in the time since I don't really think back to it in a way, which is kind of funny. I don't know. I think it was really good, but at the same time, I would say it's maybe like somewhere around there. I will say, because there's another title in here that is also action-oriented. It's funny how I somehow read both of those titles this year, being like the two closest in comparisons. But Fate Stay Night, I think, is solid. I liked the blend of action and like slice of life. For some reason, when I had read it originally, like when I read Fate Route a couple of years back, I think it didn't really work for me. This time I ended up enjoying it quite a bit. It's just, for some reason, I don't know, I almost think it hasn't like like I said, it just hasn't stuck with me for some reason. But I still had a good time reading it. And then I guess we can go ahead and I'll bang this out of the way. So this is a indie title, Snowdrift. I played it because I was waiting for. That's the reason why I had played Kimono Friends Opening Day too, is because this title that I'm going to talk about in a bit, I had been waiting on it for forever now. There was multiple different delays, and so 2 points throughout this year, I had finished a really long visual novel, and then just was kind of waiting a couple weeks to see if we were going to get the release date for this, because of, it was supposed to come out and then just got pushed back further and further and further. So I played Snowdrift, which is an indie VN. It's very brief. I feel like I tried taking my time with it, and it was a little over an hour long. I wanted to play it because I kind of liked the premise of it. So you are in this heavy snowstorm blizzardy location, and you end up finding this robot in the snow, and then the robot is the caretaker for this girl that lives in a mansion or a manor. So you end up going to this mansion or manor, and you end up meeting the owner of the robot, and it's very a very slice of life cozy story. I will say is that I would have probably appreciated it more, but the game doesn't really have a whole lot of rising points in the story, if that makes sense, to where there's no pushback. It's weird because they kind of set up a premise for some sort of climax in the story where you're gonna need to actually do something that is maybe more adventurous or actiony, and then it just skips right over it, and just it kind of tapers off at the end too, where it builds up to that, it completely skips it, and you just get to the the conclusion where everything has already been solved, and then you're it just drops that you've already been married to the girl, and then it just ends on this not a cliffhanger, but I don't know, it's weird. I would say it's an interesting enough time for an hour of a read, but at the same time I think it is not particularly amazing. I think I'm probably gonna drop it somewhere around there, and then let me go ahead and do Infinite Stratos Love and Purge. I read this last year, and I had a good time reading it. Infinite Stratos VNs are probably my what's the word for it? My guilty pleasure. There is a third Infinite Stratos VN that I gotta try and get set up at some point, which is Archetype Breaker, which is an offline version of a mobile game from back in 2017. So I gotta see if maybe I can get that set up at some point. But for the time being, this is the last Infinite Stratos VN that I will be reading for a good while. I liked it. I want to say it's not as good as Ignition Hearts. It's fun. It's kind of out there. Every single character route is based around a storybook or fairy tale. So Cinderella, Rapunzel. And they also have some different stuff like Wizard of Oz and Princess Kaguya. So it's fun. So yeah, I would say it's a good enough time. I had a fun time reading it. If I put it right under Senran maybe. And then I guess I could do this, which is another title. Along with Snowdrift, was playing it while I was waiting for this VN here. Food Girls, You Can Eat the Girl. Pause. This is interesting because I had put it on hold for a good while. I ended up finding out about it because was at some point, I don't even really remember when, I saw some meme, and I guess it was a meme that had originally been from TikTok or something, but it's just basically little animatics that you would see in between segments in this, and then when I pulled it up, I was like, oh, it's a visual novel. But I almost would say it's weird. It's definitely a hybrid visual novel, because I know, what was it called? Machine Child came out, I think, earlier this year, and everyone was freaking out, being like, oh my god, Machine Child's out. This is going to be amazing. And I think it's kind of the same thing as Volcano Princess as well. So it's not it's a hybrid VN in a way. It's like one of those like stat raiser kind of games. So in this, you're the person that is like overseeing this street that has a bunch of like food vendors. So there's 3 different food vendors, and you can invest into like the quality of their food, how much marketing they're doing, etc. And then you're trying to like make money, and then you have to pay rent after like every week, and you have to hit goals. So it's kind of addicting actually when I got back into it, despite the fact that there's not a whole lot of reading. Once you get like set onto a character route, depending on which food vendor you go with, you get a little bit more reading, but I had fun with it. I think it's very addicting, and it's also like has a lot of replay value. I only did the one playthrough. After you beat the game, you unlock like extra equipment and stuff that makes your runs better, and you can try and get like different ranks based off of like how much money and your reputation that you had at the end of a playthrough. So it's cool. There's a lot of replay value there. I want to say we could probably drop it maybe like above Tomio After. And then before I forget, I just remembered while looking at the list, Heaven Burns Red. So I want to re-rank this because last time I went pretty hard into how I think the story's solid, but the gameplay is like very just like overwhelming. I did a very lengthy review on Heaven Burns Red maybe like a couple months back, and yeah, I think it's a lot better now. I want to probably raise it up a good bit. I still stand by the fact that gameplay is very like tough. It's hard to get into Heaven Burns Red unless you like are doing a lot of like research, probably watching a lot of videos or like looking up tutorials online and seeing like looking through like the fact that there's like a Google Doc with all the gameplay mechanics and stuff. Heaven Burns Red, I want to bump it up. It's weird because it's like it's almost the same thing as like Sakura no Uta. We now know that it's going to be coming out like sometime closer or like soonish. But Heaven Burns Red and Sakura no Uta are like the 2 games where it's like, okay, you have to dump an insane amount of time investment to actually like get a good like amount of enjoyment out of it. At least that's kind of like my opinion on Heaven Burns Red. That's what I hear is Sakura no Uta's problem as well, that you probably have to dump like 40-50 hours in before it gets good. Heaven Burns Red, yeah, I want to say, so what I had it like right around here. Let's go ahead and we could bump it up, not too insanely high. I don't know, I mean, like maybe we could put it like right under Cafe Stella maybe. And then let's do, I've been talking about it. This is the most recent visual novel that I finished, Be Missed and Remembered, The Letter from Mayoiga. I think that's like the full title. I just call it Be Missed and Remembered. This is another title from Neko Soft, which is a visual novel developer that I have been really wanting to play more and more of their titles, and this is their first like officially translated title. From my knowledge, I think actually one of their very first visual novels called Gin Iro technically has a translation for it, because I think they used like old school machine translation to do an English translation, and then from what I hear, they actually got people to like do English dub over the machine translation. So it's like very like early 90s English, but I don't know, this is like the actual real first translation for a Neko Soft title, and I was really looking forward to reading it. It was supposed to come out in March, and then it got delayed by a month. So then it's pretty bad that I remember. I think it came out April 12th. It was either April 12th or April 13th in Japan. They shipped it out, and then there was no news on this on as far as like the Steam release of the game. And then we went, and then I think so we had like no news all the way up until June. And like at the very tail end of June, they had said, okay, it's going to come out July 10th. And they had to like delay the game because of feedback that people were leaving, and there was a lot of issues. I heard through the grapevine that people that got review copies for this game, the reason why, if you were to look online, you see maybe some people that got early copies of Be Missed and Remembered, and they all gave them like 4 out of 10s or something like that, is apparently this game was quite buggy. They were probably crunching to get this game out in a polished state for July, but I was very much looking forward to reading this over the course of like 6 or I'm not even gonna say it. Let's just say 6 months. But yeah, it's solid. It's quick though. It's like I was literally maybe like 5 or 10 minutes under hitting the 4-hour mark for reading Be Missed and Remembered. It's nice. It's a very like happy, just like good feels visual novel. I liked it. I don't know. I want to say I could probably put it like, I actually would say it would maybe be above like Alcana Extra 2 for me. Yeah, I don't know. I liked it. I think it had a lot of issues, but when you got to actually playing it upon release, the game is solid. There's no bugs. The game runs perfectly fine. It's just that there was so much build up to this, at least for me, as somebody that was actively following the game for those 6 months. Yeah, I think some people were a little disappointed with it, but for what it is, I think it's pretty fun. And then we could talk about Cosmos no Sora ni, which is another big non-transitive visual novel that I read, and I feel like even as time has gone on, stuff like Aster and then Clear that I have up here in S tier, I feel like I've seen people actually talk about them a decent bit. Cosmos no Sora ni is one of those like super niche non-transitive visual novels that I kind of had to dig around for and find out. And I think it's really solid. I think this is probably kind of close to Muv Luv Extra in a way, in that it has some emotion, but at the same time, it's also very like zany or wacky. It has a lot of like really unhinged dialogue options and just general dialogue as a whole. So it's probably like one of the most fun visual novels that I've read in recent times, to where I just had a lot of fun reading it. And by the time I got to the end of it, I was like kind of getting that feeling that I've only ever had with like a couple of different visual novels, where I'm like, oh man, I'm getting to the end of it. I kind of don't want it to end because it's been so fun of an experience. Cosmos no Sora ni is solid. It is technically a Nakage, so yeah, it does have heavier emotions. At the same time, I don't know. It was fun though. I genuinely had fun reading it. I want to say probably I could put it maybe around Steins Gate, which was an example of one of those visual novels that, yeah, got to the end of it and was like, dang, it's almost over. And then lastly, let's talk about Rewrite Plus, which is a title that I had been putting off for a very, 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 very long time. Just because, in a way, I guess I kind of want to make a bigger video talking about my thoughts on Key as a whole and all their like mainline titles. But I feel like after I had read stuff like Air, it maybe was one of the or this is Harmonia, my bad. Air was maybe one of the reasons why I actually made my original first tier list, and maybe one of the reasons why I actually do visual novel YouTube today. So I kind of just wanted to talk about Air and how I felt like it was kind of mid. As I've gone and read a lot of the mainline Key titles, I think just after a while they kind of get to be a little stale in a way, and I'm glad that Rewrite is vastly different and is something that just like pushes the boundaries and is just something completely out of left field when it comes to the stuff that you would expect from Key. It gets compared kind of to Fate's Day Night in a way, in that it is a more action-oriented story, and I enjoyed that action-oriented like bit. It was like I said, with Fate's Day Night, it's kind of weird that I read both of them the same year. But Rewrite, I actually liked more than Fate Stay Night, and I think also it's probably like really good. I think there's some hiccups. Once you get kind of towards like the latter portions of Rewrite, I feel like it almost gets a little too like philosophical and is maybe trying a little too hard to kind of be like this. I don't know. I don't want to spoil too much, but it maybe gets a little too overbearing, but then it starts to kind of like wrap its way back up and get back to like what I enjoyed about Rewrite. So I would say probably put it in S tier. It's weird because I was like, I was kind of thinking I would like to replay Clanad at some point. I'm thinking later this year I'm actually going to replay Monobeno to get a like second opinion on it. But I'd like to do that with Clanad at some point too, because I think Clanad, I remember having some dips. There is a good amount of routes in there that almost feel like filler in a way. Rewrite felt so solid, ridiculously solid, and there was like very little dips, I think, that I experienced through Rewrite. So I don't know if I want to say Rewrite is better than Clanad or not, because Rewrite did not make me cry though. That's the thing. So, but as something that is vastly different from the tonal like experience that you probably expect out of Key, Rewrite probably wasn't a story that was really trying to make you cry. I think the takeaway message of Rewrite is very different from even something like Clear that I think I might have talked on this channel before about, but I don't know. Rewrite is like kind of like, I don't know. I don't want to spoil too much about it, but it is very different. If you liked Fate Stay Night, go ahead and Rewrite. I think it is really good. But yeah, I guess that's probably going to be it. I was actually thinking, you know what? Real quick, I want to bump Aster above Super Eevee. In the time sense, I've really come to appreciate Aster. I think that's maybe all the changes I would have for here. I don't think there's anything else on the tier list that I would really move around. But yeah, I guess that's going to be the annual visual novel tier list from me. But yeah, I think that should be it. Thank you guys for watching. I've been Wave, and I will see you next time.